I'll invite you to find a comfortable seat. We'll begin practice here, and then we'll make our way probably down onto our backs on the mat. So taking the time to just find your way into a comfortable seat, and then kind of arriving into a place of dignity. I really appreciate that word. It's something that one of my teacher friends, Annie, uses when she's inviting people to settle in. So landing into your own dignified seat for this practice. Garnering a sense of length and space, welcoming it in. And allowing yourself to take up as much room as possible as you're settling into this posture. We have a tendency to sometimes want to make ourselves small, so we hunch and we round, but let's, in this dignified way, take up a little bit more space. Maybe roll your shoulders, wiggle in your seat, and more formally land. Inviting a few deeper breaths to support you as you continue to settle physically, energetically. And we'll be inviting a great deal of quiet to our practice this evening. Embracing the silence, embracing the stillness. So in hearing that, notice how you respond to this idea of quiet, of space. Sometimes that feels like an incredibly welcome invitation, and other times we recoil with the thought of having to sit, to be with the quiet. So just noticing. I'm pulling from the Book of Embers again. I am my silence. I am not the busyness of my thoughts or the daily rhythm of my actions. I am not the stuff that constitutes my world. I am not my talk. I am not my actions. I am my silence. I am the consciousness that perceives all these things. When I go to my consciousness, to that great pool of silence that observes the intricacies of my life, I am aware that I am me. I take a little time each day to sit in silence so that I can move outward in balance into the great clamor of living. So although Richard's words reflect starting the day with silence, we can also invite that into the ends of our days, as we're doing here. So breathe into that. With the gentle reminder to just allow thoughts, feelings, sounds, sensations to flow through as a part of your quiet practice. Knowing that these things have their own lifespan and they will eventually dissolve. And the invitation in these quiet moments as you remain in your dignified seat as much as possible is to allow your attention to simply be with the breath, to feel into the rise and the fall, the expansion and contraction, and just let that continue to bring you back in over and over again. And let there be ease. Even in this dignified seat, there is a way to soften. And as the sound of my voice enters back into your field of awareness, the invitation is there to place one hand on the heart and perhaps bringing the other hand to the earth. Just feeling the ground underneath you and feeling the reverberation of life within you. The ground is always there beneath us, anchoring and supportive. And it is the heart and the breath in our bodies that keeps us going. And gently releasing the hands from their touch points. Let's bring our bodies over onto our backs on the mat. And just having a folded or rolled up blanket, or maybe you have a tiny bolster or cushion with you that could replace the blanket if need be. And just have that close at hand. You don't need it right in this instant. Let's just find our way to the mat on our backs, knees are bent, and just come into a few windshield wiper movements here. And just noticing how your body's responding to this invitation to a little bit of movement, all the while being on your back. And then invite those legs to come to stillness, and maybe you gently rock the head side to side. And from here, inviting the head to find its still point. Pause and feel. And we'll reach the arms either wide out to the side, or maybe you want them to stretch overhead. And then you'll come to do the same thing with the legs, maybe stretching them away, just finding a way to wake up those muscles, tensing everything up like that first morning stretch. And then letting it all go. Dropping in a little bit deeper. I'm drawing the arms a little bit closer to the body, bending back into the knees. Grabbing hold of a little cushion or maybe folded or rolled up blanket. We're going to tuck it underneath the head. So a nice little support here. And you may choose to do this as more of a neck roll so that your head dangles backwards a little bit. Or you may choose to have it more as a cushion at the base of your skull so it draws the chin in towards the chest. Keeping the knees bent, allowing them to fall inwards. And we'll breathe here. Embracing the silence, the stillness. And over the next breath or two, removing the support out from under your head. Just letting yourself settle back onto the ground, being with those lingering sensations. Your breath could move at its natural pace, or perhaps you'd prefer to extend your exhales for the next little while, just activating that resting part of our nervous system. The next part of our practice will move that little support to the mid-spine. So you'll probably want to turn yourself over to a side just for a moment and lift up part way. So you could do this with your blanket roll or cushion going sideways to mirror the line underneath the shoulder blades like a bra strap. Or you could spin it to follow the length of your spine and support yourself there. We're coming into a gentle heart opener here. And you could do this still with the knees bent, or maybe it feels better to stretch the legs out long, arms reaching wherever they're content. And if you feel you need more or less propping, then please be sure to tend to those needs for your own bodies. Gradually settling in. Returning to a place of silence where you can observe the ins and the outs of your own practice. Using the deeper exhalation if you find this posture a little bit stimulating in the moment. Balance it out with the breath. And coming to make your next 3 or 4 breaths just a little bit longer, inviting your awareness back to the present moment if it started to drift away. Inviting the arms down to your side, bringing the feet underneath you, and if possible, lifting the hips, and depending on how you had your support set up, you might be able to grab it and slide it underneath your sacrum, or you might need to roll over and readjust. So as we bring the support underneath those sits bones, the low hip, low back space, we're releasing the spine from its heart opener. Making any little adjustments you feel you might need along the way. And then seeing if you can hang out here for a little bit. It might feel good and safe for your body to stay with feet to the earth. You may wish to stretch open and let the legs slide away from you, maybe even reach with the arms for more of a Golden Gate Bridge. Many possibilities. Wherever you end up, letting it be from your own internal compass. Keeping care, reminding yourself of that open permission to do or not do any piece of the practice. If you had happened to stretch the legs away, gradually bending into the knees, bringing those feet back underneath you. And the same goes for the arms, letting them return closer to your side body if they were reaching anywhere else. And whenever you're ready, bearing weight into the heels, gently lifting your hips off your support, slide it out and vertebrae by vertebrae lower down. Noticing all the different sensations. Keep the knees bent, allow them to fall in towards one another. Pause into what might feel like a bottoming out, almost like you're losing the sense of space and connection underneath you. Knowing that the earth is always there, rising up to support you. And you'll come to turn yourself over to a side and set up in a fetal position. We've been on our backs for a while, so let's just give that part of our bodies a little bit of a break. And if it would feel good for you to set up into a child's pose, or maybe do a few rounds of cow and cat, just reorienting your body and kind of going with the flow. We're just dedicating a couple of minutes here to either a child's pose or cat cow or something else. Maybe it's a combination of a few things if you're feeling the need to move. Finding your way to tabletop. Just a moment to breathe into the sensation of your hands and your knees supporting you, inviting length into your spine. We'll do a little bit of a counter pose, if you will, to that deep back bend by bringing our support underneath us, and it's going to land in that low pubic bone top of the thigh area. So we're essentially holding up that low back space that we were stimulating earlier. You're just going to lower yourself down, find the sweet spot in your own body. And then you may choose to stack the hands and make a little support for your forehead, or you might choose to reach the arms out to the side in a T. What works best for your physical body and your nervous system here. And perhaps switching the breath so that your inhalations are just a little bit longer than the exhalations for a few moments, expanding into that low back and hip region. Coming to check in with yourself here. You might be quite content laying prone and choose to stay as you are, or perhaps removing the prop for your final resting pose. Another option would be to gently come away from that support, slide it down to a spot where you might find your knees, and then come into supported Shavasana for the end of practice. Adding more or taking away props. Is there a longing for subtle movement before you take on yet another place of stillness? And taking good care of yourself as you rearrange your bones into your version of rest. Letting all things go. Returning to stillness and silence one more time. Just this. I am my silence. I am not the busyness of my thoughts or the daily rhythm of my actions. I am not the stuff that constitutes my world. I am not my talk. I am not my actions. I am my silence. I am the consciousness that perceives all these things. When I go into my consciousness to that great pool of silence that observes the intricacies of my life, I am aware that I am me. Take a little time each day to sit in silence so that I can move outward in balance into the great clamor of living. Feeling into your body as it rests against the earth. Inviting in deeper breath to cycle through as you bring your awareness back around to this very moment. Touch the ground underneath you, feel its support. And little by little, in your own time, gradually finding your way to a place of sitting. Returning to that dignified seat. And perhaps just noting the similarities and perhaps simple differences from the first time that you arrived in such a seat to this time. Inviting the hands to join at the heart. A slight bow to your head as you offer gratitude towards yourself for the courage and the willingness to step on the mat to practice today. To the dance between willingness and resistance to embrace silence as part of practice. And offering thanks to all the precious puzzle pieces that fell into place to allow us to connect and share. The light in me bows to the light in you. Namaste.